What they didn't realize, ladies and gentlemen, is that they already were fucking with the most hated man on the internet, so I didn't give two fucks what they said about me.
I'm here to tell you again that if you haven't seen the first two parts to this series, because this is a four-parter and this is the third part, that I would recommend that you go and do that. Not that it's imperative, of course.
It's hard to remember exactly the sequence of events of this, and I'll tell you why. So, I don't know if June will say this or not. We'd already broken up, okay? So, my ex and I were living together for about a year to a year and a half, and we weren't really romantic at all. We had grown apart, but we didn't want to have internet drama or anything about it. So, we basically didn't really reveal any of this to the public. Now, only like 2 months prior, or maybe even a few weeks prior to this occurrence right here, okay, we had got engaged. All that means is we had already had this ring, which we talked about last night. It was in the documentary. That was a ring that she had wanted me to get her for an engagement, and I had gotten it for her ages ago. But we finally decided, well, let's just do it. The thing is, we weren't really being romantic at all, and we were really trying hard to maybe make it work again. So we started spending more time together again. I gave her the ring, the proposal, and all of that, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. We kind of knew it wasn't going to work, but we wanted to give it one last shot, and it definitely didn't work. And basically, at this point, so whatever date this happened, because I think it was like April of 2017 or something like that, we had already broken up. We had already had the big fight, and this isn't working, and yada, yada, yada. And basically, we were already in the process where Leanna was getting ready to move out. She had already had friends who she was going to move in with. It was just a matter of finding like a way to get the stuff out of the house that she was taking with her. It was already in process. In fact, we already talked. It was going to be about a week process that this was going to happen. So we had just had this big, argument, stressful thing going on like a day or two before this happened. And to be quite frank with you, I was worried something like this would happen because I figured she was probably incredibly stressed out at wit's end. And now she's going to a stressful retail job. What's going to happen, right? So I was like really afraid something like this would happen. And then it did. So it was like I kind of knew it, and then it fucking happened. I'm like, oh God, all right. So now we're gonna get into the real story. But the truth is, we were not together anymore. We had already broken up. And then this happens on top of all of that extra stress. It's like, oh, come on.
They wanted to give it one last try, and so he gave her a ring? Now, I know I'm young and very inexperienced when it comes to the big world of long-term relationships, but any half-wit could tell you that bonding yourself contractually in a desperate attempt to save a relationship is not a good idea. He really should just count his lucky stars that Panda left early enough. Could you imagine if she had waited till after they got married so that she could take half of his things? We would have never have heard the end of it. Panda Lee would have been the biggest detractor the world had ever seen had she removed him from his snort fort during some sort of settlement. But to get back on track, after giving her a ring, it doesn't work out, so they're broken up, and she was making plans to live elsewhere with a friend. Sounds reasonable enough to me, given that Phil sequestered her on the other side of the country from her parents. But please keep in mind that they're already broken up according to Phil, so much so that she's actively looking for a place to live because it will come into play very shortly.
So, I mean, we did on the way home. I stopped and we got food. We grabbed like chicken sandwiches and we just ate them, and now she's sleeping. So that's what happened. Unbelievable. Like, just look at me. Look at me. Look at my face. You can tell this is it. Like, I'm crushed. Like, not only is my life falling apart all around me, my business is falling apart. My personal life has now fallen apart. And now this happens on top of all of that. It's just insane. The thing that really got me too was here's the truth, because I don't know if June will say this. I don't know if I revealed this. So when I got the call during this podcast, okay, this emergency call from my ex's job, the manager of the store says, your ex, well, your ex is Leanna. Leanna's calling for you. She's saying, where is Phil? I need Phil. Where is Phil? Now, I want you to think about this. I'm going through already this breakup. It already have happened. And now, just a couple days later, supposedly, she's saying that she needs me. So my fucking emotions are being torn in every fucking direction. I'm so fucking confused about what the fuck is going on and everything. All right? And then, basically, to conclude the story, because, again, I don't know if I've ever told you guys the full story. When we were in the hospital together, and she's there zonked out and everything, right? And I said to her, your manager called me frantically saying that you needed me. And I want to know, like, was that real? Did she make that up? And she goes like this. She goes, and she hands me the engagement ring right there in the hospital. And I'm like, wow. Well, I guess I got my answer, right?
Now, why would she still be wearing an engagement ring if they were already broken up? He said himself she was already looking for a place to live. Sounds to me pretty set and done. So again, why would she be wearing this ring still? Unless, of course, it wasn't as concrete as he was making it out to be. The leading theory was always that his behavior during this escapade was actually the final straw leading to the breakup. So maybe that theory isn't just a theory, maybe that is actually the case. But really, the biggest takeaway here though is how much of this story he seemed to manage to make about himself. She was in the hospital, medicated, and there he was asking for a confirmation status on their relationship. I don't think that I have to tell you how inappropriate that is. And just a few moments ago even, he was saying, "Oh, you guys see how distraught I am? First my streams, then this. I was just so defeated." It's almost like he has no consideration for anybody else and only cares about himself or something.
Now, for the first time ever, Phil was in Washington in complete isolation. Mockingly, a few dating adverts were made to remedy his newfound loneliness. Then there was a song request.
89.7 KACC, we got a dedication in. These kids and their names, I swear. So, Darkside Phil wants to dedicate a song to Panda Lee. He wants to dedicate Baby Come Back by...
Who would have even known this? Unless some loser does it, records it, and posts it on like Kiwi Farms, right? And this is like, this is such dumb, immature shit. Obviously, I didn't know anything about it. This is the first time I'm ever hearing it. Like, how is this even like pertinent or funny? It's just so stupid. It shows what a loser they are. No one would know about this unless they put it in like a troll sector, correct?
Player? I don't know what to say, guys. Okay, so anyway, here's Baby Come Back by Player, and they actually wanted me to say Baby Come Back, ack. I don't get it. I really don't get it with these kids. But yes, Darkside Phil.
No one gets it. No one gets these kids because they're all mentally fucking ill. They're asking you to do dumb shit and they're cracked in their heads. They have no fucking intelligence.
Here's your dedication to Panda Lee.
What a small and innocuous thing for him to actually be upset about. This is the guy who made entire websites as a troll op, as he calls it. Yet a simple song request makes them cracked out of their head, whatever that's even supposed to mean. This was a very small portion of the react, and ultimately not consequential at all, but his reaction was way out of proportion, and the song request is a personal favorite of mine, so I had to include it.
Quote, I haven't had real in-person social interaction on a regular basis since like 2007, before YouTube started. Once I started YouTube, that all went away. That's part of the sacrifices I keep bringing up to make this work. I can't have regular friends with the amount of time I put into this job.
Yep.
When I lived in CT, I had tons of money. As soon as I moved out here, poof, gone, unquote. It is clear that he regrets his move, but he cannot accept it is his fault.
Wrong. I don't regret my move. I do accept it's my fault. I don't regret my move because if I didn't move when I did, I never would have left Connecticut, and I might have been there in Connecticut with money, but I would have been fucking miserable because I hated my life there. It wasn't going anywhere. Since I moved, my life has become way better.
Think about that though. He doesn't regret his move despite not having real in-person social interaction on a regular basis since 2007. His words, not mine. That's just wild to think about as a semi-normal style who has in-person interactions on a daily basis. It's really no wonder everything this guy says and every thought that he has is so foreign or alien. He just doesn't know what real people are even like anymore. And he always claims that he hated his life in Connecticut, and despite the money, he's happier being broke in Washington, and I just can't seem to understand why. He's worse off financially, he doesn't do anything out there that he couldn't have done in Connecticut, and he's abandoned all of his family and former friends. How could that possibly be a better life? I don't know if this is extreme cope or if this is the self-hypnosis at work, but either way, it's just not adding up.
I get this letter, and the letter says, we suspect that you are doing business in the state of Washington under the name DSP Gaming. Okay, we believe that you need to register and pay state business and occupation taxes. Please answer all of these questions for us. If you want to know, I actually now know the true story of what happened. Would you like to know what happened? It was my trolls. You want to know what they did? They registered my house on like Google Maps or Google Business as a registered business, even though I don't have a registered business address like that. That's not the kind of business I have. I do have a business in my name, legally registered, but it's not that kind of business. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a public business where you would have a physical location. So they posted it on there so that, you know, oh, look, Phil does. I didn't do it. They impersonated me. They actually used my information to create a fake Google like business account. They put it on my house geolocation, tagged my house. And then they sent that to the fucking state tax group people and said, look, there's a business over there. Someone's doing business and they're not paying taxes. This is completely true. And then they contacted me because of that. Yes, if there's a Burnell Enterprises sitting on Google Maps right now, that my trolls made that. I didn't make that. I don't even know how to get rid of it. I have no clue because my business is not a physical address for anything. Like, you wouldn't mail me at Burnell, Enterprises here or whatever, you know. In fact, that's not even the name of my business, FYI. It's not called Brunel Enterprises. So they did that, and then they fucking notified the tax people and got me in trouble. And here's the story. Here it comes.
If they got him in trouble, there must have been some sort of legitimacy to something they said though, right? I'm no tax man, but I don't think that they can just come after you for taxes that you don't owe. I don't know why he thinks that blaming the trolls for making the IRS aware clears him of any sort of wrongdoing though, as he has already committed the act. And let me be very clear, I'm not a big fan of the government, especially the IRS. But if there were anyone that I didn't want to get away with tax evasion, it would be the guy. I always say that it takes a special type of individual to make me actively root in favor of the IRS, and it just so happens that DSP is him.
This reads as too good to be true, as it's hitting the notes that want to be heard, while simultaneously not providing evidence outside of a testimony. The Kiwi Farms users were highly skeptical, but even so were enjoying the chaos this person was causing. But day after day of not providing a single piece of evidence and users finding strange inconsistencies in her story, it was clear that the pieces were not fitting.
No, I'm going to be honest here. This is complete bullshit. They totally entertained this for many, many months and never really complained. And then all of a sudden, like, one person actually researched it and found out the truth. And then other people started researching it and then they found out the truth. Oh, no, they loved it because they're going to spin it. They spin it to this day. Oh, we're the reason we found out that this was fake. I told you it was fake. I told you there's literally no evidence whatsoever. It's all circumstantial. You made it up. But no one wants to believe Phil. Everyone wants to believe the negative dramatic about Phil. There wasn't a single piece of evidence this person ever presented that wasn't just circumstantial, and it proved nothing. But people hate me so much, they all believed it for like many months. And then after many months of this going on, someone finally wised up and figured the whole thing out, which is fucked up that I get basically shat on for so many months for absolutely no reason and no evidence.
He claims that he was the one from the beginning who proved the escort saga was fake, but he provided no evidence. Meanwhile, the escort scammers were connecting dots and putting forth information. Not that it wound up making a difference in the end and ultimately led to their downfall, but again, they were putting forth information and all Phil could say was, that's not true. It's a very similar situation to the one that he found himself in with WWE Champions. The biggest difference between the two, of course, is that he was actually lying about WWE Champions and not about the escort saga. But that comes up later in the video. You do have to love and appreciate, though, that as he's trying to discredit the detractors for uncovering the truth about the scam, that he actually has to admit that it was one of these detractors, one of these users who went digging and found the truth. So as much as he hates to admit it, it was actually thanks to the trolls online after all, wasn't it? He also fails to understand that if it weren't for all of these discussions surrounding the situation, questions wouldn't have been raised in the first place and information would not have been gathered. So he can complain all he wants about these obsessed troll weirdos online who follow his every move, but it's thanks to them that this information ever actually came to light. They kind of did him a solid in that way. And no amount of runaround bullshit is ever going to make that untrue.
A married couple is running an extortion and impersonation racket, and apparently what they were trying to do was get so much negative shit out there about me that then they were going to blackmail me into paying them money. What they didn't realize, ladies and gentlemen, is that they already were fucking with the most hated man on the internet, so I didn't give two fucks what they said about me. They ruined themselves by, instead of, you know what I mean? Like, they could have went for this fruit or this fruit. They touched the fucking immune fruit, the spiky ass fruit. They reached it. Oh, my hand's stuck. Oh, I can't get my hand up. What's going on? It's a trap. It's a fucking trap. And that's exactly what happened. You can't fuck with me because I've already been fucked with so much by everyone. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm completely immune to anyone saying shit about me because you've already said the lowest thing about me possible. So who gives a fuck if an escort is real or fake? Who gives a fuck about any of this, right? So they fucked themselves.
DSP really thinks that he's the most hated man on the internet, huh? I've heard him say it before, but I would have thought by now he would have began to understand the actual scope of his trolling. This guy is just so out of touch with his kind, lolcows I mean, that he doesn't understand how good he really has it. In his quest to inflate his own ego by any means necessary, he is ascribing something to himself that not only is a negative, but isn't even true. It goes without saying, though, that even if he were the most hated man on the internet and even the most trolled, that doesn't make him immune to trolling. Wasn't he just dunked on by a Comcast detractor last year? Weren't Argentinians destroying his YouTube check just a few months back? There really is a million ways under the sun to mess with the guy, and he hasn't seen a fraction of them yet, but he's shouting shouting live on stream about being immune. LOL. He's practically out here baiting trolls online to mess with him some more. He is actually right about one thing though. Anything that touches DSP is sure to suffer from his Nurgle-like aura, eventually leading to rot and death. And that seems to be what had happened to those scammers.
Here we go. Sure, where is the waiting room?
Right behind you, idiot. You click on that.
Call me an idiot. You didn't have to call me an idiot. I just walked in the door. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, if you look around, you would have been able to know.
What a brat. Is it my first time ever playing VR chat? I walk into a random room, right? And I'm just looking around, like literally I'm just looking around. And the brat runs up to me and says, go to the waiting area. Okay, well, where is it? Right over there, you idiot. What the fuck? I just showed up. It's like my first experience ever playing this game. And this is immediately what I'm presented. Like, what? You heard what they said? Oh, you should look around. Well, the wall of instructions is over there. So if I go over there, you're going to yell at me and say that I'm not in line. It's like, why am I even arguing with this child? Okay, so now listen to what I say.
It literally says waiting room on top of it.
Wow. You're quite rude.
Wow. I'm 11. Deal with it.
Good, now I'm away from that annoying fucking bitch of a kid who I would have slapped in real fucking life if they talked to me like that. I would have fucking pimp slapped that shit out of that. Now, do you really think I would have pimp slapped the shit out of that kid in real life? No. I would never strike a child. But it's funny to say, if they're gonna fucking say shit to me in an online setting, that I could say shit back, and there's nothing they can fucking do about it, right?
He seemed to understand the crux of the issue when he asked, why am I arguing with the child? Yet he continued to be hostile, and he thinks he's some sort of badass saying, I can say shit back and there's nothing they can do about it. Obviously, Phil, the internet isn't new. Everyone understands that they can't make you behave yourself, but you're a grown man, and that's the type of mentality a literal child has. It should be alarming that an actual 11-year-old composes themselves better online than you did. Sure, she called you stupid and gave you a little bit of backtalk, but what she wasn't doing was making threats of physical violence over some name-calling online. He was so excited too. Listen to what I'm gonna say, you guys, just for the clip to show him not talking any shit until after the child leaves the room and is out of earshot. It's just full cowardice on display. I don't know why he got all giddy over it.
You wanna know the truth? My trolls mass flagged that video saying that I was bullying a child, okay? YouTube, being stupid, actually flagged my video and said that I had broken community terms of service. I disputed it and I got it removed. I said, you're out of your mind. The child is not there. I'm not slapping a child. What are you talking about? Do you even understand the English language? So they reversed it.
I've seen channels get hit for a lot less than that, so add that to the list of all of the times these major sites have let DSP get away with anything that he wants. And whether he wants to admit it or not, he did discuss committing violent acts on a child in a video game, and that behavior alone, especially nowadays, is enough to have you and your account removed from most games and websites. Now, I don't personally think that that should be the case. I enjoy shit talking online and have been since I was also about the age of 10. But I understand that behavior is still looked down upon, and he has no business acting that way online, especially in front of an audience. And he brings up the fact that he had the entire issue reversed, as if that's some sort of W on his behalf. But the fact that it needed to be reviewed in the first place kind of says everything about the situation that needed to be said. He knows better than anybody that he's under a microscope all of the time, that he's constantly being held accountable for a lot of his actions by randoms online. So again, he just had no business behaving this way. It's completely unexcusable, especially for his age and situation.
Tweet after tweet, he argued with Twitter users. At some point, he even slighted PewDiePie, claiming he is a product of hype and not quality content. Either of these interactions.
Now, in reality, this is probably me. I wonder, because he doesn't have date and timestamps on here. You got to wonder, am I drunk? Just throwing that out there. Am I miserable? Am I drunk right now? And just being stupid and raging at the internet on my fucking social media because I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Probably. I can't see me doing this during the day when I'm streaming all day working. So when exactly was I doing this? You know what I'm saying? It's probably the middle of the night. I'm drunk. I'm acting like an idiot, right? But this is the kind of shit that they like freak out about. They're like, oh, you see, he did this, he did that. Dude, who cares?
Apparently, Phil didn't learn anything from his run-in with Jaha and Watson, because he's still using being drunk as an excuse for his shitty behavior towards others. Sure, the liquor can make you act out, but you are still responsible for all of the actions that you take while inebriated. You don't just get to claim drunk as if it's some sort of cure-all. If anybody was looking for confirmation on Jin tweets, though, you just got it. I cannot specifically recall a time DSP stated explicitly that late-night drunk tweets were something that he would do. Maybe he has, and I can't remember, but if not, there it is.
The Drake and Ninja collaboration, because so many people were like, oh my God, if Drake and Ninja are playing Fortnite, this is the ultimate crossover of all time. It will change gaming forever. So what exactly did it change? Did gaming blow up because Drake played fucking Fortnite with Ninja? No, you stupid rubes. You all buy hype. That's the thing that I've always been against. People who are so dumb, they buy hype for no fucking reason, and they think that there was zero importance to that event. They could have turned on a stream and someone farted into the fucking microphone for 2 straight hours and turned it back off, and it would have had just as much impact as the Ninja and Drake stream. It didn't matter. But everyone on the internet, oh, they're playing. Shut the fuck up. It's stupid as shit. It didn't affect anything. Didn't help anyone but Ninja. That was it. Drake didn't need it. It helped Ninja. It helped Ninja's career. So if you think that helping Ninja's career was a world-shaking gaming event, go for it, you know? I mean, here we are years later. Ninja is still successful, but he's sure not how popular as he used to be, right? Maybe if he kept doing collabs like that, he would have been. But now he's doing his own thing, and more power to him for succeeding and keeping to do what he wants to do. But no one gave a fuck about this who had a brain. Okay?
He's so salty about Ninja doing that collab with Drake. And it seems as though anytime there is a content creator out there that does something big enough to garner mainstream attention, he can't help but seethe about it. And part of his seethe is downplaying just how big of a deal the Ninja Drake collab actually was. I'm not a big fan personally of any of the parties involved, that being Ninja, Drake, or Fortnite, but Fortnite's popularity definitely got a massive boost from that, introducing a ton of new people not only to gaming, but to video game streaming as well. And while I have no direct evidence of this, I'm sure that after seeing the success that Drake brought to Fortnite, Epic wanted to continue to capitalize on IRL famous people, which would have directly led to doing events like the Marshmello or Travis Scott concert. As much as I hate to give credit to Fortnite, I don't know that before Fortnite did it, that there had ever been a concert held digitally in a game like that, and if it had been done before, it wasn't at that scale. So the Ninja and Drake collab wasn't exactly world-changing, of course. It's just a damn video game stream after all, but it definitely brought in a lot more eyes to a couple of different industries and paved the way for ideas to come. DSP is just so narrow-minded he can't even see the bigger picture. The only thing that he seems to focus in on is that Ninja isn't as popular as he was back then, you know, when he was at his peak, as if the same thing couldn't be said about DSP for the past decade.
Funchiest Onion did a super chat. Did you ever annoy yourself with the begging? Can I be honest with you? I hate it. I hate having to beg on stream. All I want to do in the morning is turn on my stream, hang out with you guys during a fun podcast, turn on a game and play it, or, you know, do something together, whatever it is. It's React Day, we watch clips together. I love that. I love the social aspect. All I want to do is be able to do that every day and not have to worry about money. And you know what really is, what makes me feel sad is that back when I was a YouTuber, before I was a live streamer and I was popular, I never worried about money. Every day was like a party. I turned on my camera, I played games with my friends, we pumped out the videos, we made money, and we didn't have to worry about anything. And then as soon as I moved across the country and all the hater shit started, it was issue with money, 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 and it was nonstop. And it killed me, it changed me, it corrupted me, it turned me into this twisted, greedy, dark, always paranoid, worried individual. At what moment will all of this be pulled out from under me and I can't make money anymore? What's the next fucked up thing a detractor is going to do to me or my family that's going to ruin us, right? So, yeah, all that shit changed me for the worst. You know, it really, really did. And I don't like doing it at all. Not to this day. Now I like joking with you guys about, oh, fill the king's coffers with coin. That's a joke. It's funny. It's a positive, silly spin on it, right? We all know what it is. It's just a joke. But back then it was like super e-begging. I hated it. I absolutely hated this shit.
He said earlier in this very video that he didn't regret moving across the country, but here he is describing the difference yet again, and he says it went from a party with his friends every day and having loads of money, to constant paranoia and never-ending money troubles. I'm sorry, but if you prefer the latter over the former, you have to be some sick, twisted son of a bitch. Because nobody in their right mind would pick that kind of strife over the life of luxury that he was living before. Now when it comes to the begging, he claims that he hates it, which I find incredibly hard to believe how often he does it. But he claims that it's completely different if he's able to disguise his begging in the form of a very forced joke. And honestly, I could understand that if only his jokes weren't just demanding funds ironically. Because after hearing it often enough, it comes across less and less ironic and just more and more demanding, which might actually be worse.
Even now, there was an uproar of displeasure where a few mods were rebelling and leaking private chats and other items surrounding Phil due to his recent lies about where the marathon money was going. Phil did not understand the depth.
But they believed that the marathon money went to my wedding, which it didn't. They believed the detractor lie. They weren't upset that I said all the money's going to taxes, and then I said, oh, actually, I spent some money on groceries and shit this week. That's not what they were mad about. They bought the detractor lie, hook, line, and sinker, that I spent money on the wedding when I didn't.
Follow me for a second here, because this might sound like a mess of a thought process, but I promise it makes sense. If the money didn't go to the wedding, but did go to the groceries, and he couldn't afford the groceries because of the wedding, then in a weird roundabout way, the money did still kind of wind up going to the wedding, didn't it? That's why it doesn't matter how you cut it. The fact that he did a fundraiser and then went to do something else costly immediately after is the issue. Because one way or another, he was pulling funds from somewhere to pay for the wedding, even if that place wasn't directly the fundraiser. And all of this might seem like semantics, but that's the kind of things that you have to hone in on and talk about when dealing with Phil, because he loves to call people liars and say that they're misrepresenting the truth because of a minor slip up like this.
The easiest way to find out how controversial a stream was to find out how many bans occurred that day. And according to this user-made graph, the day Jasper was revealed, there were 451 bans on his stream.
How the fuck would you know that? That's insanely wrong. There's no way. You really think that moderators are sitting here banning people 451 times in a day? The only way that could be true is if someone was spamming the chat with bots, like coming in with a bunch of bots, and then we had to take care of it because no one else could talk. That's it. That's absolutely ridiculous. There's absolutely no fucking way. 451 people, unless it was bots. That's the only way I can see that's correct. On a normal day, look, no, hold on a second. Now, this is really bullshit. Take a look. I have a cursor. Oh, cool, I could use this. You're telling me that they're saying every single day that I streamed, we banned 100 people? No, this is absolutely not correct at all. I don't care. He's using some fucking detractor graph, and there's no way to verify this information. There's absolutely no fucking way we were banning 100 people a day from the chat. That's nuts. That's incredible conspiracy horseshit. Sorry, June, on this one, dude. You read a detractor graph and you believed it? There is no fucking way that this is true. I don't buy this graph for a fucking second. That is nonsense, dude.
I hate to do it, but I have to agree with the guy here for a second. I've never seen this graph in my entire life, even as a detractor myself. I don't know where this is pulled from, I don't know who made it, and for those reasons, I cannot believe these numbers. I don't doubt that they could be real. The guy and his mod team love banning people, and the Jasper reveal stream was an absolute prime example. But without an understanding of where the graph is from, or even how they got these numbers and where they were pulled from, it might as well have not even have been included. If any of you guys could inform me, please do, because after a few searches for this exact graph, I wasn't able to find it myself.
Even then, It's a Gundam willingly skipped over or just summarized much of the Phil lore only pertinent to the interview. Phil's endless list of controversial moments was in the end helping him. Even if Phil acts dastardly, there is so much information needed to understand how all its controversies tie into one another, that virtually anyone not in the detractor community is indifferent to anything non-viral that Phil does. What's a drop in an already overflowing bucket? What also helps Phil are his worst trolls that allow him to misrepresent and discredit the detractor community as a whole. On Kiwi farms, doxings are a common sight. Information spread for the sake of harassment.
I found this section notable because he doesn't really say anything about it. June just said that aside from huge blunders like jerking his peanuts on stream, most people can't even be bothered to keep up with his never-ending mistakes. And yet there was no excuses being made, no defense being mounted about how he doesn't make that many mistakes and it's all blown out of proportion. None of that. He simply lets it go by. And I find that really disappointing, actually, because the sheer amount of information and lore involved in the Vortex is one of my favorite aspects and why I was looking forward to see how he actually felt about it. Obviously, he doesn't think that anybody should be keeping up at all, but when being outright told that most people can't even be bothered, I figured that he would have something to say. Kind of a shame that he didn't. That aside though, it's time for the main event, the big lore drop. Yes, it's finally.
It's WWE Champions time.
And don't worry, I won't bore you with the whole segment, just the important bits, because believe you me, he waffles on for ages, trying desperately to convince people of his nonsense. And I have no intentions of ever wasting your time like that.
You could basically sell your account. Of course, there's no outright way to do it. So basically, what I did, I reached out and I found that there was a market for this. There's third-party resellers. And what you do is you can give them certain criteria and information about the game, login accounts and things that would give them ownership of the account. And you could give that to them for money. And I sold it. All right. That was a few years ago. So I have not had any control over this account for years. That was the single worst thing I could have done. Because what I should have done, I should have just closed the account. Because if I just closed the account, even though people would have accused me of this for years and years, endlessly moving forward, all right, it would have kind of went away. Right. But instead, I was like, man, I put so much time and money into this. Right. I don't want to, I want to get something out of it. And I sold it like an idiot. And I hate that I did it now, because now I literally have no control over it at all. I can't show you. And like, for example, people will show the account. I literally can't. And I haven't been able to for years because it's not my account anymore. I don't have ownership of it. I have nothing to show you to prove that, you know, they'd call me DSP and the names that change, you know, that last name was down for the Raptors. I can't show you anything. Okay.
So once again, DSP is expecting people to just believe him without any evidence at all after years of lying. He really expects these people to buy that he sold this account that he had been spending on for years, just to later open another account and start spending all over again? On what planet does that make any sense at all? Some of you more attention-oriented individuals out there may have noticed as well that at no point did Phil mention the name of this third-party account selling site. Now, you could chalk that up to him just being vague for safety purposes, but it's just another piece of info he left out that could have made the whole story that much more believable. It's exclusions like this, though, that only make him look that much worse. And as much as Phil loves to waste time, he also didn't seem to mention having to change the email and password to the account so that he could transfer the ownership safely. That just seems like another weird thing for him to be leaving out, given how much he loves to hear himself talk. So are we just to believe that he left out that part, or that he really just handed over his real credentials to some weirdo online? I'm not quite sure. All I know, though, is that the lack of specifics in this tale are nothing but eyebrow raising, and honestly don't do anything to help his case. But that's really the long and short of it. I thought about it including more of the segment, but the more that I listened to it, the more I thought that it was, again, a waste of everybody's time. He still lied, even if he's telling the truth now, which I don't think that he is, and there were so many different aspects of the account that still link it back to him in the present day. It was a 20 to 30 minute segment that could have been summarized in about 5 if he really wanted to.
So I'm putting it to bed right now. All right. It's that simple. I have been completely untruthful with the internet about this up to now, because I was hoping that eventually people would forget about it. It would go away. This is the one thing that the detractors have always had me on, because they know I can't show you evidence without putting myself at personal risk. I will not show you evidence because it will put myself at personal risk. You can believe what I just said or not. The truth is, if what I just said was untrue, why would I have admitted to it? Right? What do I have to gain? Nothing. I should have just kept my fucking mouth shut, right? But this is the truth of the matter. Do you understand?
I really hate that line of thinking, and since this point in the documentary, he's been using it non-stop, and the answer is simple. I think he's admitted to this, or rather made this story up, so that he could admit some sort of responsibility without having to admit to everything. It's a simple give and take style plan. It's deceit 101, actually. The fact that he thinks this logic would work on his audience just goes to show you how stupid he thinks his audience really is. On the bright side, though, I guess we've finally gotten the definitive answer to the ancient WWE Champions question. Surely the story won't change in the future when new information comes to light, because DSP promises that this is the truth, this is the final answer, just like he did for years while he denied the account ever being his. He's a very trustworthy guy in that way. But with that, it's going to be the end of the video. Thank you all for watching, especially if you made it this far. Hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Here's Baby Come Back by Player, and they actually wanted me to say Baby Come Back, I don't get it.